President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelenskyy and President of the European Parliament Roberta METSOLA. Statement by the President of Ukraine.
Dear Roberta, I am truly pleased by your visit. You are always a most welcome guest here. Madam President, esteemed members of the press, today we are genuinely glad to welcome the President of the European Parliament to Ukraine. This marks the fourth visit by Roberta METSOLA to Ukraine during the war. Roberta was among the very first to come to Ukraine following the onset of the invasion. Overall, the European Parliament and Madam President have consistently supported our state, our independence, our sovereignty, and our people, without exception. I want to express my gratitude to you personally, Roberta, for your deep and unwavering attention to Ukraine. We share a common understanding of the current situation. The defense of Ukraine is the defense of Europe. Assistance to Ukraine is assistance to Europe. Russia has always held contempt for a united Europe. Russia has never believed that Europe could be strong on its own. And over these years, together with the entire European team and many European leaders, we have proven that Russia was profoundly mistaken in its attitude toward Europe and toward Europeans. It is important to note that Ukraine only strengthens Europe, adding unity, power, and influence in global affairs. Today, we observe how relations between Europe and the United States are being reshaped, how Europe is establishing its new position in global matters. It is essential that Europe continues to act as a global entity, a global defender of freedom and human rights. I am confident that together we will ensure this. Today, Roberta and I discussed key issues between Ukraine and European institutions. I am grateful for the support of negotiations regarding Ukraine's accession to the European Union. We are fulfilling our commitments, and we sincerely expect that the European Union and European leaders will fulfill their part of the work, particularly concerning the clusters. We count on the first cluster opening soon and unanimous support from all EU member states. I thank the European Parliament for its principled support in this matter. We also appreciate that the Office of the European Parliament will begin operating in Ukraine. This will enhance coordination between our parliaments, the Parliament of Ukraine and the European Parliament. It is significant that the European Parliament consistently supports sanctions against Russia for this war. European leadership in these matters truly carries great weight. We are awaiting the adoption of the 19th package of sanctions by the European Union. We expect that one of the primary targets of these sanctions will be Russian energy resources and the infrastructure for their trade, as well as the Russian banking sector and the various sanction evasion schemes that Russia uses to finance its war. We discussed strengthening Slovakia's and Hungary's resilience, still partly dependent on Russian energy supplies. We also count on corresponding sanction measures from the United States of America. Putin must feel the consequences of his intent to continue the war, to continue the strikes, and to extend destabilizing activities to countries such as Poland and Romania. We expect that all of this will result in pain for Russia. If Russia does not feel pain, it continues to wage war. They must experience greater economic, political, and other losses so that we can finally move closer to peace. In this context, we also discussed Russian assets, which must be used more effectively and promptly to support defense against Russian aggression and the reconstruction of Ukraine. We also spoke about socially significant matters that are vital to our resilience, such as the construction of shelters. I discussed this in detail with Roberta today, specifically the construction and preparation of shelters not only for our schools, kindergartens, and universities, but also for public spaces and hospitals. We are counting on Europe's support for our program of free meals for all children in every school across Ukraine. We expect that the European Union will engage with us substantively on these issues, and we thank everyone who is helping us. Thank you very much, Roberta. To you personally, once again, glory to Ukraine.
Statement by the President of the European Parliament.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Thank you, President Zelenskyy, for a truly meaningful meeting, for your courage, and for the inspiration you have shown to Europe and to the world. It is truly an honor for me to be once again in Kyiv today. I know that you see this as a sign of the continued support of the European Parliament for Ukraine, for the Ukrainian people, for those who are still here and still fighting. Today, I also had the privilege of visiting a school in Roberta together with the First Lady. I saw with my own eyes, first and foremost, the impact of how European funds can be transformed into greater safety for Ukrainian children through the construction of shelters. You spoke about shelters, Volodymyr. I am taking this message with me to make sure that we can provide you with full support not only in this specific area, but also in understanding how school meals can benefit your children and serve as an exemplary model for all of us throughout Europe. The Russian Federation continues its ruthless attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure. In recent weeks, they have also struck a government building and the premises of the European Union mission here in Kyiv. Russian drones have violated the airspace of the Republic of Poland and Romania. Innocent people, innocent Ukrainians, continue to pay the price of Russian imperialism and aggression. But my message here today is to assure you, unequivocally, that Europe will not retreat from its support for Ukraine. As I said earlier this morning in the Verkhovna Rada, you will never walk this path alone. We will only strengthen our resolve and our support. Together, we can show the Russian Federation that its actions will not go unanswered. And together, we will act to deter them and to secure peace. How will we do this? First and foremost, we will continue to weaken the Russian war machine through coordinated and robust sanctions. We are currently working on the 19th sanctions package. Negotiations are ongoing. We will increase our humanitarian support, our military support, and our economic support for Ukraine. We will increase our humanitarian support, our military support, and our economic support for Ukraine. We are also ready, and we are getting closer, to fully phasing out Russian oil and gas, and to finding reliable and secure partners. We are also targeting the Russian shadow fleet. Here is how we can move closer to peace. Peace, the peace we all wish to see and for which we are all working so hard, must be lasting. It must be based on justice and on dignity. It must be a peace that respects Ukrainian sovereignty and independence. Nothing can be decided about Ukraine without Ukraine. We stood with your country from the first bombs and have never wavered in support. That is why we will always stand by your side, dear President Zelenskyy. We will stand with you until the moment you take your rightful place in our union. But we must move forward and finally advance in your accession process to the European Union. And on this, the European Parliament is absolutely clear. Your future is Europe. And that future is part of the essential security guarantees your country needs, and that Europe needs on this continent. Allow me to conclude by proudly announcing that the clear symbol of our strong commitment is the fact that we have just successfully completed the opening of our new office right here in Kyiv. We wanted to bring Europe closer to the people of Ukraine. This office will be the voice of the European Parliament on the ground, listening to you directly, working with you, and supporting you on the path to peace and to membership in the European Union.
First question, please. Ukrinform.
Tetiana Pasova, Ukrinform. My question is for President Metsola. In the context of Ukraine's ongoing accession process to the European Union, is it possible for the European Parliament to have any influence on Hungary's position? Are there specific mechanisms or other means through which such influence could be exercised? Thank you.
I would return to what we have achieved together as member states of the European Union. If someone had asked me 5 years ago whether we would be able to adopt 18 packages of sanctions against an aggressive neighbor that invaded one of our partners and allies and threatened the security of our continent, I would not have believed it. But here we are. We did it. We did it with all countries, and we will continue working to secure another sanctions package with all countries. Regarding the process of enlargement, it is, of course, fundamentally a merit-based procedure, grounded firmly in established criteria. However, we are absolutely clear, and I want to reassure you, that the overwhelming majority in the European Parliament strongly supports Ukraine in taking its rightful and deserved place within the European Union. We fully support all efforts, every negotiation, and all discussions aimed at ensuring that the very first clusters are successfully opened.
Thank you. A question for the President. Please confirm, if possible, the U.S. allocation of the first Pearl program package. Could you tell us what's in this package, when to expect it, and if your New York meeting with President Trump is planned? What will be the first topic of discussion? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. We have received more than $2 billion in funding from our partners specifically for the Pearl program. We expect additional funding in October, and I believe we will reach approximately $3.5 to $3.6 billion. The first two packages amount to $500 million each, as I understood your question. And what will be included in these packages? I will not disclose all the details, but I can confirm that they will include missiles for Patriot and HIMARS systems. Our teams are working to ensure that the meeting takes place.
Next, please. We are Ukraine.
Thank you for the opportunity. Olena Chernikova, we're Ukraine. Mr. President, you said the Russians failed in their offensive plans, yet they are preparing two attacks this autumn. Do we know how many forces they plan to deploy, where to strike, and if they intend to open a new front in Ukraine? And also regarding Russian plans to attack the civilian population. Do intelligence reports suggest plans to open a new front, perhaps from the inactive northern area? Or where they once advanced but now do not, though they might again?
And what was your next question?
About Russian plans to attack civilian infrastructure, particularly the energy sector. And possibly, we are now seeing an intensification of attacks on the railway system.
Four primary directions have been identified by the Russian Federation across all documents and intelligence data. We did not know the exact sequence, but it has unfolded. The Sumy direction, the Sumy offensive, the Novopavlivka operation, the Pokrovsk operation as one of the main ones, and the Zaporizhzhia direction. These are the four we have observed according to the relevant data. The Sumy operation failed. They suffered heavy losses, primarily in personnel. As of today, and while I cannot speak hypothetically about what might happen tomorrow, at this very moment, they have completely abandoned that particular direction and have redeployed both their assets and personnel to other locations. I believe they suffered even greater losses in that new direction, and we will provide further details, I think, within the next 48 hours. I would like us to speak about this in more detail. They will continue to maintain and carry out only two separate operations for the time being. In our view, as a result of successful actions by the armed forces of Ukraine, the Russian side has lost a significant number of personnel, which has limited their ability to carry out further large-scale operations, specifically the two offensives I have already mentioned. I believe that, as of today, they lack the strength to launch mass-scale attacks. Regarding civilian infrastructure, for quite a long time, Russian forces have been striking our civilian facilities, especially our energy infrastructure, and they have also targeted railway infrastructure, as you may recall, including tragic incidents at various stations. They will continue these attacks, that is evident. In response to the situation, we have carried out several carefully planned operations, and I firmly believe that these actions were highly effective. The results were very strong. One operation lasted 2 months, and I believe it has had a significant public impact. A major public impact. Some individuals missed their destinations, some flights were disrupted. And this was not due to civilian casualties, by the way. Here I want to emphasize the level of our actions. On their side, civilians remain alive, but logistics are disrupted. On our side, as you can see, they do not consider the consequences of their actions. They deliberately kill people. These are acts of terrorism. It is clear that they aim to provoke the same kind of public unrest here as they are experiencing themselves. We already see this. They want to trigger unrest in our society. That is roughly our understanding of what is happening, to create logistical problems for us. And just as we are preparing for the heating season, so are they. They already have queues forming. I believe we are acting correctly.
The final question came from the Associated Press.
Thank you. I would like to clarify a few points regarding the discussion on security guarantees. Are there more details about what exactly the Allies can provide in terms of ground forces? What specifically are the United States offering? You mentioned some positive signals earlier. And regarding investments in the defense industry, how much investment do you need to scale up production in Ukraine? And a question for Madam President. In terms of European Union membership, what are the realistic prospects of this happening as part of Ukraine's security guarantees?
We view membership in the European Union as a form of security guarantee. It is a commitment to be part of a group of states that are not only an economic power, but also a security force. I can say that every country seeking to join the European Union does so with the intent to be prepared. Of course, recent years have shown us that this alone is not sufficient. Recent commitments within the North Atlantic Treaty Organization have led member states to increase their defense spending. This also signals readiness and capability. We made this call within our European Union through legislation we adopted, particularly in the area of procurement. We are currently working to accelerate defense procurement and make it more efficient. Secondly, we are focused on defense production. We are also discussing the importance of responding more swiftly and decisively to emerging threats, as we have repeatedly observed since the year 2022. History has taught us that without genuine and reliable security guarantees, all that we strive to achieve can ultimately amount to nothing. We have witnessed this very clearly and repeatedly. In recent months, our allies have stepped forward with strong and unified support for Ukraine, working closely together with all of our transatlantic partners. This is an important foundation that we can confidently build upon in order to continue making progress and move forward together.
Regarding security guarantees. First, the Ukrainian army. We have already confirmed that we need support in the air, on land, and at sea. And I believe it is very important that we have a shared understanding of what is needed. We have communicated our needs to our partners. We have communicated our needs to our partners. And the key point is that we are fully aligned in our understanding of what is required, and all of our partners are prepared and ready to provide the necessary support. But the question now is about numbers. Next, regarding the Ukrainian army. When we speak about this, we understand that we need a strong army. And our side knows exactly and with full certainty what the size of the army must be, not merely what it might end up being, but precisely what it is required to be. And this is essential. It is a matter of financing, of resources, and it requires substantial financial support from our partners. We are currently discussing these funds. Thirdly, we are talking about something akin to Article 5. What are the United States prepared to deliver? We will be discussing this with our American partners. I believe we will reach bilateral decisions with them. Next, sanctions. Yes, if the Russian Federation decides to repeat its aggression, there must be a clear and specific list of sanctions, as well as a plan for reconstruction. This includes asset freezes and other measures. Let me give you one example from wartime to illustrate how complex this is. Yes, security guarantees will apply during peacetime, but during wartime the cost of this war as of now, and the challenges we face, are immense. The cost of 1 year is 120 billion. 60 billion is being provided by the Ukrainian budget, and I need to secure an additional 60 billion for the coming year. I hope we will end this war, but in any case, Plan A is to end the war. Plan B is 120 billion. And that is a major challenge. I'm not saying that during peacetime, during a ceasefire or under security guarantees, we will need such vast amounts of funding for 10 years. But in any case, you must understand the scale of this issue. That is why we speak so often about these funds.